Pleasure, Horng Shya, to be reconnected with you. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm looking forward to this conversation, Horng Shya.
Sure, no problem. It's my pleasure.
Very good. Now, you have made a number of career changes, Horng Shya, right? In the public sector, serving the public sector, to country leadership. Tell me the mindset that drove all of these changes, Horng Shya.
I think it has to go back almost 25 years ago when I first started my role in the National Computer Board, because I was hired by the Singapore government when in Australia. So in fact, when it came about, I know nothing about IT, okay? And I was a BizEd graduate, so I knew nothing about IT. And in fact, the National Computer Board, I think at that point in time, that sets my foundation and my belief in nothing is impossible. So I still remember the early days that I was trained as a programmer.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So I really, I really very grateful to some of my mentors at that point in time who taught me how to program. And since then, I believe that nothing is impossible as long as we try it. And at every stage of my life, growing up from the government sector and still serving the government when I was in Microsoft, and even now as a country leader, government and public sector is still my passion. Of course, I bring that experience to the SMB as well as the commercial enterprise sector. Yeah, so my always strong belief is, what is the next impact I can contribute to either the society, the community, as well as the businesses.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's a confluence of multiple factors, isn't it, Horng Shya?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Now, there is this belief that women have to navigate a number of beliefs and biases and all of that before they climb to the top. Tell me about what you had to do battle with, Horng Shya.
So I never put myself as in a disadvantage if I'm a woman, okay? Because I felt that women in ourselves has different strength. I felt, okay. So perhaps I could exercise a little bit more empathy, okay? Adequate empathy in terms of how I define empathy is putting myself in others' shoes, okay? See it from their viewpoint, and being a good negotiator. I felt that. Woman, it's a soft skill, okay, negotiator in a way that we can have a win-win, eventually a win-win for both parties, whether within the organization, cross line of business, or with external party like our partners, as well as our customer.
Very nice, very nice. And negotiation is a core skill, Horng Shya. How did you sharpen the saw on negotiation? I
think, okay, I also learned. I did not turn, I wasn't an overnight negotiator. Sometimes, and until today, I'm still learning, okay? I think before we could even start negotiating internal processes or getting the customer one, or negotiate with the customer or partners, it's also putting ourselves in their shoes. What is top of their mind? Okay, what can I give and get in that negotiation process? Right. So that's why I always focus on the win-win. Okay, right. That's where it landed. Yeah, some beautiful deals, some beautiful collaboration in that sense.
Very nice, very nice. And you also mentioned this word empathy, Horng Shya. It's so important when you lead teams, when you're engaging with customers. In your mind, I mean, are women more empathetic than men? I mean, what is your experience?
Okay, I felt that some men are also very empathetic. I was conducting a leadership sharing within my team. So someone actually asked me a question, Horng Shya, by applying empathy, does it mean we are weaker? Yeah, okay, so I said no. Okay, in fact, if you have a very clear mind in terms of putting the desired outcome at the end, right? So what is your desired outcome? How do you strike a win-win? Then applying empathy on top of that is to put yourself in that person's shoes. Okay, how do we collaborate? How do we work together? How do we win together, for example? Then that will balance out. Yeah, so my answer to my colleague is no, applying empathy is not appear to be weak, right? Yeah. So in fact, it sometimes if we use it right, the technique right, it will be to our benefits, I would say.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And you mentioned teamwork and orchestration and all of that. I remember some wise man saying that the biggest impediment to organizational progress is teamwork. Correct? What is it from your experience has worked well for teamwork and orchestration out here?
Okay, yeah. So teamwork and orchestration is also a win-win for all parties. Okay, teams will come together when they see that what's in it for me. Okay, especially in this world, a lot of line of business are still fairly silo in the nature, right? How do you bring great minds and then we win together for the customer, not just for ourselves, right? So it's always a balance of what's in it for that person. So let's say a team of 5. So what's in it for each and every one? Do we have an aligned goal? Okay, once we have an aligned goal, and how are the what are the strategy we're going to deploy to make sure everybody has a win in that situation?
Correct. Beautiful. And in fact, I mean, if you look at organizations, teamwork, etc., one of the elements that people normally talk about or don't talk about is politics, Horng Shya.
Yeah, so politics sometimes, yeah, politics is sometimes like an undercurrent. Okay, so I mean, handling politics, I would rather not put politics up front to address that politics, right? So, but instead addressing, I think most importantly, if I can put let's give an example, using a customer requirement. So we put that customer as a common goal and we align on that. Then the rest, there will be some slight politics here and there to make sure they gain more. That is a trivial question now. Yeah, it becomes trivial. Yeah. So for example, in my current job, there's also a worldwide customer. Okay, so who is based in Europe, but when they have a license or the work system being purchased, right, it's going to be deployed worldwide.
Right.
So of course, as a country lead, I also want to serve my customer branch here, right? So I also need to collaborate and work together to see how we can enlighten the customer and delight the customer, not just from a headquarters standpoint, but also in the branches and the subsidiaries, so that we together is a stronger team.
Very nice. And those are good points, Horng Shya. Now I'm wondering, I mean, there is a lot of talk, men versus women, etc. I don't want to go there, right? Yeah. I'm only thinking of men and women, which means it's all about diversity, right? I mean, diversity, empowers a lot more things, Horng Shya, right? What is it about diversity that you would love to share, Horng Shya?
Although as an organization where I grew up throughout my whole career, diversity is always part and parcel of the conversation, because I felt that I don't do like what you said, right? I don't segregate men and women. It's a man and woman. But as a team, in fact, I don't focus on the gender.
Very nice. Very nice.
I focus on their capabilities. So when we look at forming teams, what roles requires what type of capabilities, that's where I will look out for that capability. So are men and women equal? And I will accept even not just a diversity in gender, but diversity in races, diversity in religion. I welcome, because we don't focus on those, we focus on the core skills that the person can bring together and contribute to the success of the team.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, not many women get to where you are, Horng Shya, right?
Not really. There are more than hundreds of them here in Singapore.
But there are millions more who are not there. What advice would you have for women who want to be at the top?
Yourself, be authentic.
Yeah.
Okay. In my view, I also learned along the way. Okay, other than be myself, be authentic. I think we also need to apply a little bit. I use the word empathy again because I use that a lot. Because especially in these 2 years, right? The COVID situation, really need to check on the team members, my peers, my colleagues, even my superior, right? So, hey, how are you? You know, still okay? Everything's still okay? How can I support them? So that's my little advice.
Beautiful, beautiful. A lot more empathy can go a long way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, for example, now it's the festive season. Just a token of appreciation that I send to everybody. It's not expensive. Okay. Just send a little token to everybody's home, and you can see the smile on the person's face. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Simple act of gratitude and kindness, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, I mean, these tough situation with COVID, Horng Shya. Now, that has forced a lot of organizations and people to change. From your vantage point, how have sales and salespeople changed, Horng Shya?
I think it will be triple, I think multiple ways of changes. Okay, not just ourselves, changing the mindset. How do we engage our customer via virtual meeting, for example? And also that I saw a lot more customers, partners, and even our counterparts in the industry accepting the norm as virtual meetings. So most deals are sometimes over the last 2 years closed over a Zoom negotiation, for example. So we can't really meet face to face, right? So and then I realized that like there are windows of opportunity for 2 or 5 people to meet up. In fact, when we bring the customer together, oh, everybody yeah. So I think that relationship is built tremendously over this period of time through a different way of working. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. And how would you describe the gap or the deficit yet, Horng Shya? What do salespeople need to learn more?
Be proactive. Be curious. Okay. And again, exercise the empathy, because perhaps just an example, pick up a phone and check on the customer. How are you? How's everything for them? And is there anything we can come and help? It doesn't lead by, I want to sell you something, right? It always lead by, you care. You care for them, you care for their business, and the trust that is being established. That will be the best advice for all the salesmen for the longevity of the sales leadership.
Beautiful, beautiful. Somebody told me it's called no agenda calls.
No agenda. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can put it that way. No agenda call. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So there was once I brought my customer out for lunch. I said, don't worry, Mr. Customer. Today is not about, I didn't want anything from you. Okay. Just come out and have a relax and a friendly lunch, you know. Yeah. So no agenda lunch. Yeah.
Very nice. Now, I mean, there are a lot of people who would have helped you on this path to leadership, Horng Shya. Tell me about your best manager.
I have a few person in my life, okay, who taught me in terms of how I should lead. Okay, starting with when I was a individual contributor, my direct manager will actually help me build a very strong foundation of forecasting, how to make sure I establish my credibility, right? Because it will have to float upwards. So this is, I think, fundamentally as a salesperson, forecasting is very important. Okay, I should add accurate forecasting, right? So that's established credibility. So so at different phases of life. So that's very initial phase of my life to learn that technique, right? So when I grew to be a team lead, I'm beginning to help others, okay, back to the concept of forecasting again. Right. And then, of course, help them understand the customer needs. And we are not a product pusher, okay? We are a solutionist, yeah. So we do solutioning for the customer. So we will put aside what is directly impacting to oneself, but look at the holistic picture. We will bring others along if our business can satisfy the customer. Okay, then when I become a segment lead, that is like it's a more holistic view. Okay, so I lead with vision and strategy because I need the team members to be aligned, just like how we herd everyone towards the same direction. So this is very important. So every year I will start with a vision, a strategy, and a quarterly checkpoint on whether we meet that vision and strategy, and then empower the team leads to execute the business. Yeah, and become now as a country lead, right? Even this strategy and vision is even more important, so that all segment lead, all team leads are aligned, and what is our grand plan, because so that they what I've done is in not just sharing the vision, but executing, showing the team that we can do it together. And I always have the philosophy of better together. Okay, and that's where we will meet our goals and objective.
Very nice, very nice. And those are great responses, Horng Shya. I'm also learning a little bit more about you as we speak as well. Now, a person, they say, is defined by their failures, because that's what gives the maximum learning. I don't want to hear what your failures are, but I want to hear what the learnings are, Horng Shya, because that's what everybody else can benefit as well. Future sellers, sales managers, leaders who are hearing this podcast, right? They will hear and learn from all of this. What have you learned from your failures, Horng Shya?
I would say throughout my whole life, there are also different points of, I would say failures, but things that I can do better. Okay, yeah. So because every turning point, there are some great learnings. Okay, so for example, in my transition of various roles, okay, throughout my whole life cycle, as a salesperson, there are great customers. There are customers who are like skeptical about the products, as well as maybe the organization. So how do we overcome that? My greatest sense of achievement is actually to turn around a super unhappy customer. Okay, yeah, because if let's say a customer is so unhappy with you, okay, I still remember when I was a direct salesperson, okay, I went there and asked the customer for their direct feedback.
Beautiful.
How have we offended her, or maybe or is there any room for improvement? So I actually sat there for 3 hours, okay, for the customer to complete download, and some words are quite I would say not beautiful. Okay, so but then once we are patient enough to understand their problem, and we progressively make changes, okay, and come back with may not be 100% foolproof plan, but we make progressive changes, and day by day we regain the trust. In fact, this customer has been my best friend for the last 20 years. Yeah, so it's like a phone call for help. That's how we sometimes. No, there's a blur line between your customer now become a friend, right? So you build friendship eventually with the person. So I felt that it comes a long way. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So if you ask me, the learning is be patient, active listening to the require, not just to a customer, even a partner or to your internal colleagues, staff. Yeah. So understand their problem, and then how do we help them solve? We may not be perfect, but we will know how do we progress step by step and gain trust and gain that credibility.
Beautiful. In fact, one element that you are not touching upon, but is very important, Horng Shya, is courage.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes, you are right. Courage.
Courage to stand
you're
up
right.
and have that conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
What gave you the courage, Horng Shya?
I think I got nothing to lose. because to me is I only have upside. That's how I see it. Yeah, as a salesperson, I always see, if let's say I don't pick up, you are right. When I picked up the courage to speak to the person, actually I didn't know that element was called courage. Okay, so in fact I always do a phone call because I felt that I've got nothing to lose. I only have upside. When I win the customer on my end, yeah, I only have tremendous upside. Yeah. So that's my mentality.
Very nice, very nice. And you brought about another important point, Horng Shya, saying what we call customers for life.
Oh yeah, that's right. You are right.
If this person has been with you for 20 years, they are a customer for life.
That's right.
What makes customers for life, Horng Shya?
I think what makes customer for life is the person is true to you, and will the first person, when let's say the company there's a new vision of that the customer's organization, looking at transformation. That's a very good example. Okay, lately I've been applying that. So they will call me, hey, our business has been stagnant, and we want to leapfrog. How can we do it? Then we discuss options, idea. Now I say, okay, pause. Okay, while I understand the scenario where the customer wants to be, I do not have the answer myself too. Okay, most of the time. So, but how do we connect the dots? Okay, go out to the world to hunt for that possible solution. May not be one shot. We have to piece a few things together. But I will apply the word that you use, courage again. That's what I did. Internally, I'll call a few executives and I talk to many people and talk to the developers, even down the line of a developer, right? Although I don't quite understand their language sometimes, but I will tell them, hey, this is what I hear from the customer. Is there a way, how can we put things together to support them? What is the best solution? So we will put our best foot forward. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And in fact, I mean, while you were talking about bringing everybody together, I was reminded of an article that I read in Harvard Business Review, Horng Shya. This says there are different kinds of managers and leaders. The ones who are most successful are what they call the connector leaders, much like exactly what you described. Right? You're able to connect people, resources, capabilities, expertise, all of that. Correct? How can other leaders become the same way, Horng Shya?
Yeah, someone asked me this question before, was from my staff. I paused for a long while because I didn't realize I have these skills. Okay, I think it's a habit, okay, or a behavior. Sometimes someone asks me, how can you train me to be like you, to be able to connect the dots and see that vision quite clearly? So I think it goes back, I don't know, I felt, okay, it takes a lot of experience and practice. And in fact, perhaps my foundation training, okay, in the government, okay, it has been useful for me because from a government standpoint, always look at nationwide possibility, nationwide solutioning and nationwide resources, right? So that's where we need to be creative and hunt the best from the world, for example, so that connecting the dots become a natural instinct for me. Yeah, when I saw a problem, I don't just solve it. How can I bring the best talent, best people onto the team and work on it together?
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm just thinking that means when you're handling government, it is scale first. then it is skill, and then speed, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yes.
you always think scale. What is the big picture? What can we solve for? Very nice.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And in fact, one of my mentors in the government actually told me before, I am very suitable to do nationwide society impactful programs, for example. Yeah. So that's where they saw me growing into my path, and where I landed today. Many of them felt that yeah, it's a good progression.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, you have been through a certain journey, Horng Shya. But then that journey would have to sometime align with your purpose in life as well. Right? What has your journey taught you about your purpose in life, Horng Shya?
That's a very good question. Okay, my purpose in life is how can I bring a certain level of impact within my little effort. Okay, I will not be able to say I changed the world. Okay, but however, I am looking at every stage of my life that creates an impact. So when in the government, we transform, we build programs to build up the capability of IT professionals. In fact, that program is still has gone through its own evolution, okay, and is still intact today. CTRAP, the Critical IT Resource Program. So I think it's called the CTRAP Plus now. Okay, so yeah, so the concept, of course, the mechanism has evolved, but the concept and the objective is still there to support IT professionals to regain, to reskill themselves, right? So at every stage of my life, I built different impact into the business. So for example, early days in Microsoft, during my education days, then was future school was so well talked about. Okay, of course now all schools are good schools. Okay, but the concept of how to bring in a tablet into the schools. So there was a huge like a pilot, yeah, in MOE schools, and that's how we built to the that legacy has stayed behind. Of course, not 100%. Not all schools are 100% successful, but there are also tweaks here and there to make it now pervasive in schools, especially now benefiting students during the COVID study from home, right? Program. Yeah. So things has evolved. So I also want to see through how my new role, okay, and my current role as a country lead, what are the impacts that I can bring to my organization, my teams, as well as individual in the organization.
Very nice. So that's your purpose, bring out the best in everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, and make a worthwhile contribution as well. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. This has been a wonderful conversation, Horng Shya. You would observe that we've been into the conversation in a number of different ways. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. In fact, it's been my pleasure being part of your growth journey as well. I'm actually wanting to tell you that you have my very best wishes, and I want you to be even more successful and create a greater impact here in this part of the world, Horng Shya.
Yeah, thank you, Venkat. Yeah, I enjoyed the coaching with you. Yeah, we almost spent like 1 year, right?
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
Time flies. Time flies.
Yeah, time flies. Yes, thank you.